again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I am so pleased and proud to present to you the Virus Chevron blanket. Yes! Oh, I'm so excited. I've been working on this for quite some time, figuring out the pattern, figuring out how it would work out very nicely, and I am so pleased with the results. Yes, I am. And also, by the way, this video is sponsored by Lion Brand, and they also provided me with the yarn. Thank you so very much, Lion Brand, for your continued support, and I appreciate it oh so much. Now, I want to show you a little bit more of what we have here. We have ourselves the virus stitch here, but we also have a ziggy-zaggy chevron going on here. And I couldn't be more delighted with the results. Now, the color that I have here, by the way, this is all Pound of Love that I used for this blanket. This is aquamarine, and then we have succulent, and I also used elephant gray. And I thought that these colors would work really nicely together. Now, for today's example, I'm going to be using more of the elephant gray and some taupe and some pumpkin spice, which I thought also would go really well together. Now, of course, you could use whatever colors you like, whatever color combinations you like, of course. Whatever works for you. Now, also, I will show you, I used a size J 6mm hook. Of course, that is up to you, but I would definitely suggest using more than one color in order to really accentuate the ripple of the chevron. Now, of course, you could use other yarns as well, ones that are perhaps an ombre or one that is a variegated. However, if you're using a variegated yarn, you do sort of give up some of your control as to where the stripes actually occur. So play around with it, have some fun with it. But I couldn't be more delighted with how this turned out, really. And of course, also you can make your stripes as wide or as skinny as you want. Also, with this pattern, you can make it as wide or as narrow as you want to. So the dimensions really are up to you. And that's another thing that I'm really pleased about. Also, yes, I did actually write out the pattern for a change. It was not easy. No, it was not easy. It's much easier for me to formulate it in my head than to actually write it down in the crochetese jargon. But I did do it. And also, the pattern will be for sale on my Etsy store. Yes, I'm going to be reopening up my Etsy store so that if you would like to, you can get a PDF file copy of the pattern. And I'm really excited. Now, keep in mind, this is like my first written pattern, but I did have it tested. And for those of you that tested my pattern, thank you so much. Your support means so much to me. Very, very helpful. I thank you for that very much. And so there shouldn't be any issues with the pattern. But also, of course, if you want, you can use the pattern in conjunction with the video or just the pattern, or really what have you. But I really thought that it was high time that I finally write out a pattern. And there you are. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay. Okay, now before we get started, just want to give you the specs on the yarn itself. Now, as far as the hook size, it does recommend a size J, which finally I'm following the rules, right? And I thought that this hook size worked for me. Now, of course, keep in mind that you might stitch looser or tighter, so you might need to adjust your hook size to get the sort of tension and feel of the fabric that you want. You might want it more loosey-goosey or more tight, whatever. Also, it is 1,020 yards. Now, considering that I used 3 different colors, I was able to make my blanket with just these 3 skeins. Now, if you're doing something larger, like say for a queen size, or something smaller for like a baby size, you might not need quite so much. But yeah, with the 3 skeins, it worked out beautifully. Okay. Now, also, as far as size is concerned, okay, you are going to need a minimum base of 123 chains in order for the chevron to work, okay? Keep in mind that in spite of that 123 chains, for the blanket that I did, I ended up using a total of 200, hold your breath now, 237 chains, which I did already pre-stitch prior to starting up my video. Now, it seems like a lot, but the blanket itself, I would say it is a good sized throw. Now, as far as determining what would work best for you, I would suggest perhaps starting with the 123 chains and working with the pattern and using that as sort of your gauge as to how wide the 123 chains would make your piece, and then go based on that. Now, again, keep that in mind. So you would need at least 123 chains as your base. If you want to make it wider, you would add a multiple of 57 chains. Okay, so for a 5-peaked blanket, the points at the top, 5 of those points, including the side points, I ended up using 237 chains. If you want fewer peaks, well, you reduce the multiples of 57. But you need, like I said, I can't stress this enough, you need at least 123 chains. But for the sake of this tutorial, yeah, I decided to go whole hog, and I'm using 237. So, that being said, whether you're starting with 123 or a multiple of 57 beyond that, or the 237 that I'm personally using, that is up to you. But that way you can make this piece wider or more narrow or what have you. Now I'm going to be starting with the pumpkin spice, and then I'm going to work with the taupe, and then I'm going to work with the elephant gray in that order. Again, totally arbitrary. It's totally up to you. But that being said, get your chains ready, whether it's 123, add on a multiple of 57 or more if you want, and, you could also, like I said, do the 237. I know it's a lot of numbers, so I would suggest perhaps writing this down or getting the pattern. And of course, there's going to be a link in the description box down below to my Etsy store. So get your base chain ready, and we will proceed on to row 1. All right, the moment of truth. Finally, row 1. All right, so for our base row, we are going to start by doing a single crochet into the 12th chain from the hook. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I always like to double count, always. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so into that 12th chain, we do a single crochet stitch, like so. So we have a nice big old loop at the end here. And then here comes the repeat for what we're going to do for the rest of the row, pretty much. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skipping 3 chains, 1 and 2 and 3, okay, and single crochet into that fourth chain, that next chain. So single crochet into there. So now we've got a big loop and a smaller loop. And we need to do that a total of 3 times. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 3 chains into the fourth chain, single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 3 chains into the fourth chain, do a single crochet. So after doing our large loop and 3 smaller loops, well, we need another large loop. So chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we skip 6 chains, and into the 7th chain, we're going to do another single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and into the 7th chain, single crochet. So it's sort of bookended. Large loop, 3 small loops, and a large loop. And so now we're repeating, going back to the 3 small loops, then a big loop, 3 small loops, and a big loop, and so on and so forth. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the next 3 chains, going into the 4th chain with a single crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the next 3 chains, going into the 4th chain with a single crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skipping 3 chains, going into the 4th chain. And count your loops. This is where we have our nice big loop. Then we've got 3 smaller loops. Well, chain 7 again. We need another large loop, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Skip the next 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Into that 7th chain. Single crochet. And then back to the small loops again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip those first 3 chains into the 4th chain, single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 3 chains, going into the 4th with a single. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the next 3 chains, going into the 4th with the single. And we need another large loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Skip the next 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so then into that 7th chain, single crochet. And so you're going to be following this same format until you reach the end. And I will show you what to do at the very end because it is a little bit different like how we have here. So just keep on keeping on. You know, you have your large loop, 3 small loops, a large loop, 3 small loops, a large loop, 3 small loops. Yep, they're in there. They're in there. And so keep on keeping on. Now I have quite a bit of a chain more to go. So I'm going to do the rest of this off camera, but when I'm approaching the very end of my chain, I will meet back up with you and show you how to complete row 1. All right, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I've left off by doing a large loop here, and I just have a couple more little loops to go, and then I'll show you how to finish off row 1. So again, my chaining of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 3 chains going into the 4th chain with a single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 3 chains going into the 4th chain with a single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, skipping 3 chains going into the 4th, and so that is our 3 smaller loops. Now for the very end, just like we started with a larger loop, well, we need a larger loop at the end too. So to do that, I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, you should have 4 chains left over if your count was correct. And I was praying that mine would be, and it was, so I'm very happy. So you chain 4, and then into that last stitch, do a double crochet. And that gives us our nice big loop to work with. All right, so at the end of completing your first row, your base chain, you should have, I'm not going to count the smaller little loops, but the big loops you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Now that is, of course, if you are doing your base chain as 237. You will end up with different results if you do a different multiple of 57 after the initial 123. But basically, what it amounts to is you should have a large loop at either end and large loops separated by chain 4 spaces. So that being said, congratulations, you're on your way to row 2. So let's continue on, shall we? Alrighty. Alrighty, row 2. Now this is where things start to look like the actual virus pattern that we know and love. So for row 2, going to start by chaining up 2. Now this does not count as a double crochet. This is really just a way of getting some height into our piece here. So now, and so when you reach this chain 2 on the way back, do not stitch into it. And I will stress that point later, I'm sure. So into this first large loop, we need 11 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And yes, I am going to double count. It's just what I do. So again, be sure not to count this first chain 2 as an actual stitch, just the stitches that are inside of your chain space. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Okay. So from here, we are going to carry on by doing a single crochet into the next chain space. No chains in between, just going directly from this double crochet that we did here to the chain space with a single crochet right into that chain space. Then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next chain space. and again, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next chain space. All right, now, in spite of the fact that we started with 11 double crochets into the first chain space, into the next chain space, just 10 double crochets into this large space here. Now, the reason why is because on this end and on the opposite end, okay, on the opposite end, it's going to be 11 double crochets, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do 10 double crochets into this next chain space, okay? And we're going to be doing this twice, but then the next one is going to have more double crochets. We'll get into that, trust me. So we did our 11 double crochets, 2 chain 4 spaces, and we're now going to do another 10 double crochets into this chain space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Double count. Also, be aware that this right here is a single crochet, and this is our chain. So do not confuse this with your double crochets that you actually did into the chain space. It's very, very easy to mistake this chain as a double crochet. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Perfect. Okay, so carrying right along, single crochet into the next chain 4 space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Single crochet into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Single crochet into the next chain space. And then again, 10 double crochets into this large chain space here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Into the next chain 4 space, single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next chain space, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and single crochet into the next chain space. Alrighty. All right, so to recap, we have 11 double crochets in this arch here. Then we have 2 chain 4 spaces, 10 here, 2 chain 4 spaces, 10 here, and 2 chain 4 spaces. Now, this right here, this space here, this will be a valley, okay? Now, over here, approaching our next chain 7 space, this is going to be a peak. Now, when I'm referring to peaks and valleys, I'm referring to the peaks and valleys of the chevron. And that is why we needed a certain multiple of our stitches, because we needed to have 2 here in order to have a valley. And now right here, we're going to have a peak. So in the peak, we need a total of 20 double crochets in order to create our peak. So into this next 7 chain space, 20 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and this will make more sense once we get the actual repeat going. 4, 5, 6, 7. You can scooch your stitches because there are going to be a lot of them into this chain 7 space. So I did what? 7, 4, and 3. Yes, I have 7. Good. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay. So I've got 5, 10, 15, and 20. Perfect. Okay, now this is going, like I said, excuse me, this is going to serve as one of the peaks. The end here is going to be a peak, and then these two will be brought together to create a valley. So right now, what we need to do is we need to continue on by doing our chain 4 spaces and following suit with symmetry and so forth. This one's going to have 10, and then the next one's going to have 10, and then the next one is going to have 20. So that's the repetition for this row. 10, 10, 20, 10, 10, 20. So let's scoot on over and continue on with the row. So into the next chain 4 space, single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next space. Come on. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next space. All right, we've got a big space. Well, we just did the 20, so we need a 10. So 10 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Got 5 and 5. Perfect. Okay. Moving right along, footloose and fancy free. Single crochet into the next chain 4 space. Chain 4. Single crochet into the next chain 4 space. Chain 4. Single crochet into the next chain 4 space. And we have another large chain 7 space, which we need to do 10 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5, and 5. Perfect. Okay, so we have our 20 here. We have a 10 and a 10. So the next one is going to be 20 when we reach it. So single crochet into the next chain 4 space, chain 4, single crochet into the next chain 4 space, chain 4, single crochet into the next chain 4 space, and we have our big loop, which we need 20 double crochets. And so basically for the rest of the row, that is how the pattern is going to continue to sort of perpetuate itself. So keep in mind that this first loop is sort of the anomaly where it's 11, but over here we've got 10, and we've got 10, and then we've got 20, then we've got 10, and then 10, and then we're going to have another 20. So it's 10, 10, 20, 10, 10, 20, 10, 10, 20, so on and so on and so forth until you reach the very end, which, yes, I'm going to work on the rest of this row off camera, and I will show you what to do at the very end, and we shall proceed on. Alrighty. Alrighty, so I've been stitching along, and I have a 10 here and a 10 here, and going back I have a 20 here because, like I said, it's 20, 10, 10, and I'm almost at the end here. So I did my 20, 10, 10, and I got this last little loop right here, right? Well, first I have to do my single crochet into the next chain space, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next chain space, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next chain space, and then last but not least, when you reach the very, very end and you have one large loop left, well, we're going to do a total of 11 double crochets just like we started. And we're not going to need to do the chain 2 like we started because we already have the height. So just 11 double crochets into this last chain space. So I've got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, and yes, I do always double count, especially when it is a particularly wide piece, because it is a beast to undo your work, I know. So I've got my 5, and then I have 6. Perfect. Okay, so going through your project now, again, of course, this is of course if you did 237 chains initially. We have our end loop, and then we have our 2 10 loops. So I'm going to count the beginning and the end as a big loop. Big loop. Okay, so we've got 1, and then we've got 2, and then 3, 4, and then our last one at the end, 5. Okay, and then of course you have 2 in between each of the 5. And I know this does not look much like a chevron at the moment. I get that. I understand that. But the magic will come before long. Don't you worry about that. Trust me. All right. All right, my dears, so that concludes the first part of the virus chevron blanket tutorial. I hope you're enjoying it. The reason why I'm breaking it up into multiple parts is because I really want to be thorough, because this is a departure from the usual virus kind of project. For those of you that are familiar with the virus stitch, great, that will help you as we continue on. For those of you that aren't, I really would very much like to be thorough so that it is not confusing, because, like I said, this is a departure, especially since we got big ones, we got little ones, we got all sorts of craziness going on here. But that being said, I thank you for watching, and I really hope that you're enjoying it. And if you are, please give a little thumbs up button down below. Please stay tuned, because there is more to come. Yes, indeed, because we've got more rows to cover, and then a repeat, and so on and so forth. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. And again, a big thank you to Lion Brand for sponsoring this video, for supplying the yarn. Thank you so very much. And check out the information in the description box down below for further details. And until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and stay safe. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.